Hi guys, welcome to my podcast. Today we are going to be talking about mental health in student athletes here in college. I recently just did an interview on one of my teammates who decided to be kept anonymous, and I asked her 5 different questions about my topic. It was a really interesting interview because her and I have previously talked about our program and like our mental health and like how we think they're handling it, and it was just like a really fun conversation to have with her. So I'm just gonna share some of the questions that I've asked her and like her responses. Okay, so the first question that I asked her was, how much pressure do you feel is put on you during practice, games, and school? And she responded with, I'm exposed to a lot of stress and pressure. That's why there are times when I feel incredibly worn out and tired. Most of the time, I don't want to go to training or matches because the pressure I'm exposed to turns me off even from the sport I play. I related to this a lot because I've felt a lot of pressure put on me from just like different elements, and it sometimes make you dislike the sport that you're playing, in my opinion. The environment that I'm in right now is just like I don't feel happy playing the sport than when I did when I was in like high school or club volleyball, and I feel like that's not how it should be if I want to play this sport for the next 3-4 years. So her response wasn't really anything new to me because she's definitely told me that before, and sometimes like you can see her, getting yelled at in practice, and it's like, how does she like look on like that she doesn't care, not that she doesn't care, but you know what I'm saying, like she just looks unbothered, like she's like, oh, I'm fine. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that. Like, it for me, I feel like I would have broke down. Like, I can take yelling, but it's like when they like call you like horrible and you suck, it's like those aren't positive words to like lift you up. So the next question I asked her was, do you think that the staff for your sport is doing enough to make discussing mental health an easy thing to come to them about? She responded with, we do good things when we are not in the season, but when our season starts, we cannot spare much time for ourselves. Because of this, those times are much more difficult. The hardest part of being a student athlete, in my opinion, is having a solid mental health. I think that she says this, for some people, it sounds like, what is she talking about? Like, that doesn't even sound like she answered the question. But I understand where she's coming from when it's like, it's not really like a priority. It's like on the list of things that are a priority. When I feel like your mental health should be like the top priority, like it should not be avoided. Like it shouldn't be put down for something else. And I think she feels like for our sport, it's our first priority is our season. So at the start of every season, we have a team meeting and we set these goals that all the girls really want to reach. And like, one of our number one goals is to win conference tournament and then make it to the NCAA tournament, which would be super, super cool. Like, I would love to say, like, Mom, we're at the NCAA tournament with all these like amazing teams who are out here doing spectacular, like, and we're part of that. And like that feeling, it would feel really good to like be in that environment and just to even say that. But I feel like your mental health, and I'm kind of relating to what her and I have previously talked about. It's like season or goals and then your mental health. And it's like we'll have our meetings and stuff with like the coaches, and yeah, of course they'll ask you about your mental health. It's not like they completely avoid it, but when they ask you, it doesn't feel like it's a priority because the topic is like so quickly changed into something else. And it's like, I thought we just talking about my mental health a second ago. Now we're talking about volleyball, and it's like, which one is like more important in your opinion? Is it my mental health or just like knowing that you asked? So, I mean, I feel like I get what she's saying, especially like here in this program, and some people might think differently of what she says, but that's my interpretation of what she was trying to say for this. So the next thing I asked her was, do you feel a support system from your teammates or alone? If you feel alone, why? I personally knew what she was going to answer, and she answered with, my teammates are my family here. I don't know how I would have dealt with the difficulties here without them. I love them very much, and I can feel that they love and support me always. I can definitely get why she says that, because she is an international student. And so when you're that far from home, it's like you feel like you don't have anybody else, and your team it's your family. Like, it's literally your second family, because, you know, you're so far, and it's like your family can't come and fly here all the time to like check up on you and stuff like that. And I definitely feel somewhere like near to what she says, but a little different, because it's like I'm from Florida, and I feel a different way, because it's like, you know, I don't feel as supported. I think it's because of like previous things that have happened to me and all this stuff, like while I was like here on the team. But my family can come and see me. Like, that's the one thing that I can't say is like we're similar about. Like, yes, it's almost a 6-hour flight, because, you know, El Paso doesn't have any direct flights. You have to take layovers everywhere. But it's like my family can come and see me like anytime they want, because, you know, we're in the States. So I would understand how she would feel that way, because, you know, her family can't come and see her as often. Like, our breaks are not, they're long, but they're very separated. So it's like we have our summer from, I believe, May, June, and then we have to be back here like the first week of July. And then you have, you know, August and all this stuff, like fall coming up, and we have like our 1 week off in August. I think this is before or after our 2-a-days, I can't really remember. But they don't really go home. Like, our international students don't go home when we have that week off, because it's just so expensive and like time consuming to go all the way over there and then come all the way back. So they stay here not by themselves, because, you know, they have each other, and like some people don't travel, but like they don't get to go and see their family. And then our next break isn't until December. Like, we're not allowed to even go home for Thanksgiving. So we have a small Thanksgiving here, but I feel like it should be bigger, you know? It should have more of like that Thanksgiving feel, even though some of them don't celebrate it. Like, having like a get together with everyone, like I just feel like the small things like that would make them feel like more at home, instead of just walking in and grabbing food and leaving. That makes me feel like uneasy, because it's like, you know, we can't go home to our families, and like you guys are our family, and we're not even sitting together for Thanksgiving. And I've never missed a Thanksgiving with my family ever. So the first time that I missed it last year, I was just bawling my eyes out. But you know, and so it just things like that, like, and then they don't even get to go home until December. So I understand where she's coming from when she talks about things like that. So yeah. So the next thing that I asked her was, are you seeing a therapist about your mental health? If not, why? And she responded saying, I started seeing the therapist 2 months ago because I realized that my life here is now very difficult and heavy. And at the end of my interviews, I was diagnosed with depression, which hurts my heart, because she's the nicest person, the sweetest, kindest. Like, she's just a really great person. And just to hear that, like, she's going through that makes me sad, because it's like, I want to be able to help you. Like, I'm going through the same thing. Like, I know a lot of people are going through the same thing, and it's not something that is, like, a topic to bring up with a lot of people. But, like, I just really hope, like, you know, the therapy helps for her. I personally don't like therapy, because I'm not really, like, a person that likes to talk about my feelings to other people. But it's good for her, too. And, like, you know, she's also started journaling, which is really good, because that, like, helps her keep her mind off it, which goes to, like, the next question that I asked her, which was, what things do you do to help yourself not get into a bad state of mind? And she says, whenever I think of my family and loved ones, it makes me stronger. And so I become more resilient to difficulties. And at the same time, I started journaling, and it makes me feel so good. It allows me to listen to my own thoughts and pay attention to my feelings, which I feel like is a great thing to do, because your thoughts and feelings go first, like, than anyone else's. Like, you shouldn't have anyone else's, like, words echoing in your head. Like, any bad energy, like, negative energy is not good for you, especially, like, with all the stress that you have going on with you, like, in your sport. And it's just, like, it's not a healthy thing for you for it to be negative, negative, a little positive, negative, 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 positive. Like, it's just, it needs to be consistent. Like, there isn't always going to be positive energy in your life, but I feel like there needs to be a lot of positive energy, especially playing a sport with all that pressure, like feeling like you have to be perfect. It's just a lot for you, especially because she's an engineering major and she's taking these extremely hard classes that I would never in my lifetime take. Because it's just like, she's a genius. She's literally a genius. So I think with that, and like, we have different positions and there's coaches for those positions, and her coach has been like, gets really hard on her, but I know it's because he loves her and wants the best for her, but sometimes it gets into her head a lot, and like, I can't even blame her. Like, it gets into my head a lot, and I just really hope everything works out well for her, which brings me to the survey that I created. So I decided to make a survey of, just simple questions of people's like mental health, how they're doing, and, just like the simple "are you okay" question, because I've heard that helps with a lot of people's mental health. So 23 people have done it, and it like kind of totals it up. So 30.4% were freshmen, 43.5% were sophomores, 13% were juniors, and 13% were seniors. So it's 7 freshmen, 10 sophomores, 3 juniors, and 3 seniors. So it averages everyone's scores out. So one of the questions I asked was, on a scale, how would you rate your mental health? 1 being horrible and 5 being perfect. So I knew 5 was not going to even be a number picked, because no one's mental health is perfect. Like, maybe it's like a 4, it's like, it's doing good, but there's some setbacks. And what kind of threw me back was that the average was 2.78, which is not really good. And I feel like that's something that needs to be talked about with my team, because it's a really low, and it's like, do our coaches know that and stuff? And it's like kind of sad to see that number. So the next question I asked is, how difficult is it to balance athletics and academics? 4 said difficult, 14 said somewhat difficult, 2 said moderate, 1 said somewhat easy, and 2 said easy. Then I asked, what mental disorders have you been diagnosed with? If not properly diagnosed, what mental health disorders do you think you have? Because not a lot of people, go and get tested and stuff. And a majority is ADHD, anxiety. Some said none, depression, bipolar disorder, major depressive disorder, severe clinical depression. Some people say, like, they just get stressed easy and struggle with time management. Someone says, I believe I suffer from anxiety, and it comes from trying to keep a healthy balance between sports and academics, because both are so demanding, which is really, it's very true. Then I would ask, just like a little question to like lighten it up, because, the survey is so hard on. But it's like, how many extracurricular activities do you have outside your sport? 5 said 0, 11 said 1, 5 said 2, and then 2 said 3 or more. And this one I really was like, I was really concerned. Not concerned, but I was really curious. That's the word. I was really curious about what people were going to say for this one. So I was like, how much pressure do you believe you're under in your sport, from yourself or for others? Someone said, I feel like the majority of my value comes from my performance in athletics, especially while in season. Like, almost all of them said a lot more than is necessary. I put myself under a lot of pressure. I'm exposed to a lot of pressure and stress from myself and my coach to be perfect, always positive, never doing enough, trying to be better always, and it never being enough. I'm my harshest critic and a perfectionist. And then they say on a scale 1 through 10 at 9, it's just like hearing these, I'm surprised, but at the same time, I see the people that it comes from, and it's like, I didn't know that you felt that way about, the pressure. Like, you just handle it so well, but you don't really see people go through, like, behind the scenes and stuff. So I asked, how many concussions have you had? Because I did a research, and I don't know why I looked this up, but I was curious, and it was like, can concussions cause depression? Because I've heard people say that, and it says that depression is common after concussions, because like, it makes you feel like, you're not who you think you are anymore, if that makes sense. But I think it's like a mood killer. I have to look it up all over again. 10 people have said 0, 4 people said 1, 3 people said 2, 6 people said 3 or more. And this is a question that I saw from one of these mental health conventions that we had to go to. And I just felt like it's not really a question. Yeah, it's like not a question, but it's more of a statement. And it was people who suffer from mental illnesses are weak. 17 people said disagree, somewhat disagree. 5 people said that. 0 people said moderate, and 0 people said somewhat agree, and 0 people said agree. And I would put disagree because I don't think if you have mental health, illness, you're weak. I really don't. And I feel like some people think that about themselves, it's kind of sad because, like, we don't want you to have that mindset. Then I asked, do you have a family history of mental illness? 6 people said yes, 12 people said no, and 5 people were unsure. And I just left a little comment or experience box if people wanted to put anything. Someone said it's really important to talk about this. My mental health has been considerably worse since joining the team. Someone said, I know that everyone who plays college sports is exposed to a lot of pressure and stress, and because of this, I think that everyone should receive psychological support at certain times. Someone said, my roommate scares me because she has panic attacks a lot, which is something that I think she should go and, see a therapist about, because those are no joke. But this survey, I'm actually really happy I did the survey, especially with my teammates, so I can, see how I can help make them feel better in these really, these situations, especially since it's during season. There's just a whole bunch of pressure being put on because, everyone's expecting our team to be everyone is expecting our team to be perfect, perfect score, perfect this. Like, I know no one can be perfect. It's not possible. It's not possible for anyone to be perfect, but it's just kind of hard to not have that mindset when you're, playing the sport that you're playing. So to conclude this podcast, because I definitely went over time, it's definitely 60 minutes. I'm really happy that I did this topic. I was going to change it because it was getting kind of difficult for me to do. But I'm happy that, I went on with it and I did this interview and I did this survey. And, I'm just happy that I'm doing this so I can, really, figure out, what's happening with all these student athletes. Why are they going through the things that they're going through? Why do they feel this way? And I just feel like their story should be shared. It should definitely be shared by, other people to know that, hey, we're not okay. We're not okay, and, we need help. But thank you everyone for listening. I hope you guys have a great day.